sus colores, sus sabores, sus lugares, sus territorios, sus recursos naturales y culturales, sus personas, son motivo de admiración.
Es un sitio donde se encuentran historias, naturaleza, legados, saberes, lenguas, paisajes y cosmovisiones.
Donde conviven ideales y la esperanza de un mejor presente y futuro.
Hablamos del mundo, de este lugar llamado planeta, de su diversidad, que hoy se reúne y se reencuentra en este espacio virtual porque pese a las distancias físicas, hoy estamos más cerca que nunca como humanidad.
Sabedores del valor de la vida y de la importancia de convivir en armonía con la naturaleza. México les da la bienvenida. Es un honor tenerlos aquí. Les invitamos a imaginar lo espléndido de este territorio, su comida, su gente, sus rincones y rutas.
Sus pueblos y lugares turísticos, su folclor, su cultura ancestral y a la vez cosmopolita, sus atardeceres inolvidables.
Será en 2021 cuando nos veamos de manera presencial en México, en la puerta de entrada a América Latina. Bienvenidas y bienvenidos al Foro Global Virtual GICEF 2020.
El poder de la comunidad y la economía social y solidaria como vía para la transformación. A mayores retos, mayor solidaridad.
Comenzamos.
Supporting government actions to mitigate the increased risk of the COVID-19 pandemic. However, we are aware that energies mobilized and the innovative responses of the social economy to strengthen resilience in the face of the current economic and social crisis through several campaigns to maintain employment and create inclusive economic activities in providing livelihood, jobs, income, and the means to achieve many other elements of a better life for the people are still clearly insufficient compared to the scale of the challenges faced today. It is even more regrettable that most of these innovative responses of social economy are not visible and insufficiently recognized by decision makers and by the public for its role and its potential to better elevate the crisis so as a strategy to promote sustainable and inclusive development. We have also seen the majority of social economy organizations and enterprise are often among those suffering the most from the negative consequences of the crisis, often overlooked by the economic and financial measures and policies proposed by government, even though many social economy organizations and enterprise continue to embark on the path of transformation through a great solidarity mobilized to respond to the great challenges of the time, which cannot be easily overcome by local and sectoral social economy effort. A fundamental reconfiguration is needed in the development of economic policies and of a new system of production and consumption of goods and services in order to ensure a reduced environmental footprint and greater distributive justice that prioritize gender equality, access to decent jobs with social protection for all. Despite the great challenges we face as a global social economy family, I must recognize that this great feeling of being together and connected with all SSC actors and stakeholders today gives us strength, hope, renewed energy, and sense of belonging to one humanity. So let's celebrate and share what we have done, experienced, and fought during this time of crisis of the COVID-19 pandemic, rediscovering who we are and what our values are, and how important we are in rebuilding our economy and our society, placing people at the center of our concerns for the path of transformation, because it is the only competitive strategy at our disposal to better rebuild ourselves after this crisis. Our founding chairperson, late Wonsun Park, former mayor of Seoul, used to say that we are happy to be together. Going alone can be quick, but together we can go farther. This is a wisdom we may need to seek and design our path for transformation, not to lose the power of community and social economy to respond to the great challenges through greater solidarity. I hope that this GCEF Global Virtual Forum, which starts today and runs until October 23rd, with no less than 32 sections, will guide us to trace this path of transformation both personally and collectively. Thanks a lot for your attention. Muchas gracias por su atención.
Muchísimas gracias a la señora Lawrence Wark y su gran labor por promover
Thank you very much to Lawrence Quark and for her great efforts to promote SSE globally. And now we are going to have the official message from Juan Manuel Martinez, who is the General Director of the National Institute of SSE in Mexico, and he is the President of the Local and Regional Committee, which is organizing GSEF. Welcome. Well, thank you, Jennifer, and thank you to everyone who is connected now, everyone who is with us. I would like to thank everyone and the General Secretary for the Global Fund. Thank you very much for being here with the organizing committee and the GSEF committee. Thank you very much for trusting us in Mexico. And well, today we are going to begin the first of 5 days, which are going to be full of work, and we are going to demonstrate that solidarity and social and solidarity economy is the way forward. So we have been informed that we have more than 2,000 registrations, 2,000 participants in this platform, and we are going to share with you all of our experiences. We are going to distribute all of the sessions into plenaries and smaller sessions so that everyone can be better integrated. 2 years ago in Bilbao, the committee selected Mexico City, and I would like to thank you for that because we were selected as hosts for the 2020 GSEF. So I would like to tell you about all the changes that had to be made. I believe all these changes have made us stronger because, well, despite the fact that we were going to convene in Mexico City on this date, now we are carrying out the GSEF forum virtually because of the COVID-19 pandemic and the consequences that it has had in Mexico and the rest of the world. So we didn't want to lose that momentum. We wanted to create a new format that would be as productive as possible. We were also able to carry out 6 national sessions, 4 webinars that allowed us to gain a little bit of momentum. And we really like to have the participation of the GSEF members to bring more knowledge and expertise about SSE to legislators in Mexico. So one of the consequences of the collaboration with GSEF is now that in Mexico we have better access to a legal framework for SSC. I also want to emphasize the young persons event that we had here in Mexico about sustainable development. And we were very surprised about the enthusiasm and the passion from so many young people in Latin America that were able to participate on that occasion. And I would also like to thank them for participating in our event. And I would also like to deeply thank all of my colleagues in Mexico City, Dr. Claudia Sheinbaum. Her own transition was taking place at the government, but as soon as she realized that we were going to host a GSEF, she committed to the organization of this event. And so 2 years ago, she placed the city as a candidate, and we were selected. So we are very thankful to her as well. And Soledad Aragon is also to be thanked. She works at the Labor Ministry in Mexico City, and we also have our economics minister, and also the organizers of the event here in the city. I would like to thank you very much for convening here and for bringing us all together. And finally, I would just like to say that the fact that we are gathered here means that everyone has a great conviction, a great passion for this subject, and we have a lot of experiences to share, experiences based on solidarity and trust in humanity, because we know that when humans start working from a very humane place, and when we organize our work towards development and to promote development, the results will be much better. Of course, the COVID-19 pandemic is creating bigger challenges, and they are so big that we can only face them through a higher degree of solidarity. But COVID also poses a risk for humanity because it is now shadowing many of the problems that we were already facing, such as the climate crisis, social crises, and we have been facing those problems for a very long time. But we are still um, working towards facing those challenges and towards finding solutions so that we can better harness everything that has been developed so far and that we can develop better solutions together. So it is very significant for us to have more than 100 countries represented here. And of course, we can gather many of your opinions from different countries.
Nos amis de la langue française qui vont partager ces expériences, ces passions, ces moyens de procédure para que podamos conseguir realmente lo que queremos, que es una sociedad más
So
integral.
this is the best opportunity that we have to create a more committed society with a better solidarity. Well, thank you very much. Now our speaker is muted. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I hope we have a very productive event. Thank you very much, Mr. Juan Manuel Martinez Ubier, who is the General Director of the National Institute of Social Economics. His commitment to a social and solidarity economy is reflected in his pursuit of paradigm shifts, not only to create an economic change, but also a social change. So now we are going to give the floor to Sun Sun Men. He is the director of the Labor Office and Security Policies in the Metropolitan Government of Seoul in Korea.
안녕하십니까. 존경하는 클라우디아 셰인바움 파르도 멕시코시티 시장님, 존경하는 하비엘 메이 로드리게스 복지부 장관님, 그리고 지세프 2021 국제사회적경제포럼 조직위원회 관계자, 지세프 회원기관 및 파트너단체, 이번 국제사회적경제 온라인 포럼에 참석해 주신 모든 분들께 인사를 드립니다. 오늘 큰 도전, 더 큰 연대, 변화와 통로로서 공동체와 사회적 경제의 힘을 주제로 개최되는 2020 국제사회적 경제 온라인 포럼 개의식에서 인사 말씀을 드리게 되어 영광입니다. 역사상 유례없는 코로나19 팬데믹 상황에서 우리는 그 어떤 때보다 서로의 도움과 연대가 절실합니다. 사람을 최우선으로 생각하는 가치와 원칙, 특히 위기 상황에서 회복 탄력성이 강한 역사를 가지고 있는 사회 연대 경제는 코로나19 이후에 지속 가능하고 포용적인 사회를 만들어가는 데 큰 역할을 할 것입니다. 올해 2020년을 사람들은 벌써 잊혀진 해라고 말합니다. 그러나 10월 19일부터 23일까지 5일간 사회연대 경제의 우수하고 혁신적인 사례를 공유하는 지세프 국제사회적 경제 온라인 포럼은 2020년을 더 나은 미래에 대한 희망을 새롭게 하는 한 해로 기억하는 데 기여할 것입니다. 우리는 사회적 경제와 함께한 그동안의 경험과 에너지, 열정, 비전을 통해 단 한 명도 뒤처지지 않는 모두가 함께하는 지속가능한 지구를 만들어 나갈 수 있습니다. 지세프 국제사회적 경제 포럼의 공동의장이신 서울시장님을 대신해서 이번 포럼을 위해 그동안 모든 지원을 아끼지 않고 애써주신 멕시코시티 시장님과 멕시코 사회적경제진흥원에 깊은 감사의 말씀을 드립니다. 여러분 모두에게 성공적이고 의미 있는 온라인 포럼이 되시길 기원합니다. 다시 한번 지세프 국제사회적 경제 온라인 포럼에 함께 해주셔서 감사합니다. Muchas gracias.
Agradecemos el mensaje desde Seúl, Corea, del señor.
We thank this message from Seoul in Korea from Sung Soon Min, who is the general director in this office in Seoul for the metropolitan government. So, starting today and until next Friday, October 23rd, we will have the opportunity to hear from specialists, academic authorities, governmental representatives, and also stakeholders from all areas of social and solidarity economy about inclusive and sustainable development. So we have scheduled a wide array of sessions, and we are going to have 5 plenary sessions. They will all have simultaneous translation into Spanish, English, and French. And we are going to talk about youth, local governments, civil society, academics, and also indigenous peoples. We are going to have special sessions, and they are going to be about specific initiatives related to social and solidarity economy. And our global forum, our global virtual forum at GCEF 2020 is going to be filled with very interesting ideas and opportunities. Now I would like to...
y locales.
Si bien no hay soluciones únicas, la economía social y solidaria es una alternativa para resolverlos.
En tiempos de pandemia COVID-19, pensar y actuar otro desarrollo es crucial.
Para un presente y un futuro mejor, se requiere construir sociedades más inclusivas y equitativas, basadas en la convivencia del ser humano en diversidad y armonía con la naturaleza.
Tras una serie de webinars regional septiembre en inglés, español y francés, el contexto nos invita a encontrarnos este año en el Foro Global Virtual GCEF.
Y será hasta el 2021 cuando México y la Ciudad de México nos reciban con los brazos abiertos. Bienvenidos al Foro Global Virtual GCEF, el poder de la comunidad y la economía social y solidaria como vía para la transformación.
A mayores retos, mayor solidaridad.
Attention, and thank you for watching this video. And now for the official inauguration, we are going to welcome the representatives from the government of Mexico City. Ms. Soledad Aragon Martinez is the labor minister, and she is also going to share her message with you. Welcome.
Buenos días a todas y a todos.
Good morning, everyone. It is a pleasure for me to greet you from Mexico City, where we are hosting this forum for social and solidarity economy. I would like to apologize on behalf of Dr. Claudia Sheinbaum, the mayor of Mexico City, who regrettably could not be present in the inauguration of this great event. As you know, we had planned a big face-to-face event where this forum was to be held for the first time in the Latin American region. But because of this health emergency that we are facing now, we are going to have to wait a few more months to welcome you all in Mexico City. However, the pandemic has not come in the way of this discussion about the importance of social and solidarity economy for welfare in our cities. On the contrary, the discussions that we have had electronically over the last few months just confirms that this type of economy, SSC, is crucial in all regions around the world. And it is precisely right now, in this situation, where this becomes even more essential to mitigate the social and economic effects of the pandemic, and also for the reconstruction of our cities and our societies. The sessions that began in May have had great local, national, region, and global participation. Along with the GCEF Secretariat, the Mexican government, And the committee, the local committee, we have built an agenda for this great virtual event. And of course, we are also going to have a great agenda in our 2021 meeting in Mexico City. We would like to thank everyone who contributed to this great discussion platform where we will address all of the main social and economic issues so that we can promote a fairer and more equal society. The strengthening of SSE is, in our opinion, one of the main lines of action to improve social welfare based on inclusive economic development, inclusion, fairness, and rights that should be a part of social and solidarity economy should also be a part of the actions that we are implementing to promote cultural rights, protect the environment, build peace, and further social development programs. Our commitment is to create profound transformation in Mexico City so that it could be a rights based city. And it is also very important to reiterate that this vision is at the core of SSE. The strengthening of social and solidarity economy also contributes to the achievement of the Global Development Agenda, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. It is also included in the Paris Agreement and the Urban Agenda. I would also like to reiterate that Mexico is committed to being the hosts for the 2020 and 2021 events that are yet to come. So I would like to emphasize the importance of this event that wants to prioritize SSC as a tool to create a more fair, sustainable, and equal society. On behalf of the Mexico City government, I would like to welcome you all, and I would like to seize this opportunity to inaugurate this global virtual forum for GSEF, which I am sure will be very enriching and successful. So we're waiting for all of you with open arms in Mexico City next year. Thank you very much.
La secretaria de Trabajo y Fomento al Empleo de la
Thank you to Ms. Soledad Aragon, who works at the Labor Ministry in Mexico City, and they are waiting for us with open arms, as she said. So today we are going to talk about the big challenges and big transformations that are happening under this new COVID-19 context. So we are officially underway here in our global forum. We are going to talk about the power of community and SSC as a path to transformation. The greater the challenges, the greater the solidarity. And we're going to have more than 100 countries, many sessions, 3 languages, and this is going to be the most important social economy forum in 2020. This year, we also have members from Buen Rostro, Milpalta in Mexico City. They are going to give us a sample of Mexican creativity and the rest of Latin America as well. So welcome, Lupita and company.
Hola, hola, muy buenos días.
Hola, ¿qué tal?
Muchas
Hello,
gracias.
good morning. We are Lupita and Eleuterio. Thank you very much for this invitation. We are from the Buen Rostro group. It's an independent Mexican music group, and we are very happy to participate in this forum, the GSEF Virtual Forum, and we would like to thank you for this invitation, of course. We are a cultural group in Mexico City. We began in 2010, so we've been around for about 10 years. This year is our 10th anniversary. This is a collective project that we have created, and we mix sounds in Latin America. We have this traditional Mexican music that we like to play. We are also keen on other Latin American sounds and rhythms, but we mainly focus on Mexican music. We also incorporate some North American sounds like rock and roll, blues, but we always remain true to our Latin American essence. And we believe music is meant to move other people's hearts and to dance. So we also believe that an artistic the value of art is very fragile right now, but we need to incorporate art into economy. And I think that it's a way to build solid paths, but we still have a long way to go. SSE is all around us. It's available for everyone. And music is also a form of collective solidarity, and it seeks well being as well for everyone. So we want to give power to the community. And SSE, of course, is part of the community as a path for transformation. And we want you to watch this video, Dulce Muerte, Sweet Death, where you will see elements from Mexico and Latin America and all this great region. It was made to be shown to everyone around the world. And we will send you very warm regards and big hugs, even at a distance. Thank you. collectively should be the future of our societies. Thank you very much. Thank you both, Lupita and Eleuterio. I think this was a wonderful way to close our opening ceremony. And I'd like to remind you that they are members of Buen Rostro, a local band from Milpa Alta, Mexico City. Before giving way to our first plenary session, I'd just like to remind you that you can find us on Facebook, Twitter. You can find the INAES on Facebook and Twitter. And throughout the week, you can share anything on our social media using our hashtag GSEF2021. Remember that on our website, gsef2021.org, you can find all the details about our sessions. Remember that there are 35 sessions. So if you want to access any of the Zoom sessions, you'll find all the details about these sessions there. There will be 5 plenary sessions at 8:30, where different regions from the world will come together for the plenaries. We hope you can join us in our conversations throughout the week. Registrations will be active in case you want to access our website, www.gsef2021.org. Remember, it's the most important forum for social and solidarity economy in 2020. 90 countries, 35 sessions, and 3 languages. Now I'd like to introduce Humberto Sergio Vasquez from the National Institute of Social Economy in Mexico. So welcome, Humberto. Thank you, Jennifer. And now I get to kick off the first plenary session. But before that, I just like to take one quick moment to say how excited I am on a personal level and also collectively just to see the fruit of 2 years of work come together in today, this virtual event. And not only that, but just paving the way for the year 2021 when we hope to receive you here in Mexico City. So welcome to the Global GSEF Virtual Forum, Power of Community and SSE as a Path for Transformation. Great challenges, greater solidarity. Today, 102 countries are participating, over 2,000 participants, 35 sessions held in 3 languages. It is by far the most important social economy forum this year. And today I am happy to welcome to our first plenary session with the title Social Economy at Times of Great Challenges, a strategy for inclusion and well-being. I'd like to welcome many important stakeholders of SSE around the world together in a global virtual platform to reflect on things and to talk about actions for social development in a sustainable and strategic way. We're convinced that this is the path out of any crisis, and it's a path to generate well-being around the world. Let me first give you some technical details about simultaneous interpretation. In case you're joining us right now, it's important for you to know that you can follow our plenary session in French, English, and Spanish. Whether you're following us on a mobile device, on a laptop, regardless of the operating system that you use, just look for the icon. You should be able to find a globe or the menu where you can pick the language of your choice. You should be able to find it on the bottom of the screen, as you can see right now, and you'll find English, French, and Spanish available. All of our plenary sessions today and in the next 4 days after today will be available in all 3 languages. Now, regarding the chat box, this is important too. If you have any questions, any comments, anything that you needed to let us know, there will be a technical team or GSEF monitoring everything going on to help you in any way we can. In this first plenary session, we have a guiding question. 15 minutes before the session, our guiding questions are shared in the chat box, so it's important to hear your answers. We're interested in having a discussion. And now I'd like to invite anyone who has given an answer to participate, to share some thoughts with us. Now, if you want to follow us, we have a live stream in case you cannot access the Zoom link on Facebook and on Twitter. You can find a live stream for all the 3 sessions. Go to our website, www.gsef2021.org. And throughout the week, we'd also like to invite you to use the hashtag GSEF2021 in your social media. This is important because we believe that GSEF is the forum to make social and solidarity economy visible. So for all of us who are passionate about this topic, we're convinced that this is the path towards a fairer world. Let's go online and let everybody know, spread the word. So in the framework of the GSEF forum, I am here to invite all of the stakeholders or from around the world to share best practices, successful experiences, innovative ideas, and solutions to achieve sustainable, inclusive development for everyone. With that in mind, it's an honor to have here the participation of our speakers. Once again, the GSIP Secretariat, the Mexico City government, and the Mexican government through the social welfare ministry and the local organizing committee, who has been an important part of this event. And above all, welcome to all of our participants who are joining us from different corners of the world and are here to learn more about social and solidarity economy. I'd like to start with the first video of our plenary session to introduce the topics that we will be discussing in the next hour and a half.
Promover el bienestar y la inclusión llama a repensar el desarrollo no solo en indicadores económicos.
Considerar al medio ambiente, el clima social, la calidad de vida, es decir, el buen vivir, es imprescindible, sobre todo en tiempos de crisis.
Construir los caminos para transitar de un sistema con efectos negativos como la exclusión social y la vulnerabilidad a uno que nos permita encontrarnos y reencontrarnos en colectividad desde la horizontalidad, desde un nosotros, requiere de otra economía.
La economía social y solidaria constituye una ruta viable e idónea para el desarrollo local de las comunidades y los territorios, donde las personas son fines y no medios. Un modelo donde lo comunitario está sobre lo individual.
Bienvenidos a nuestra sesión inaugural, Economía Social y Solidaria en tiempos de grandes cambios, una estrategia para la inclusión y el bienestar.
Thank you very much for your attention. Before introducing our moderator for the first plenary session, I'd like to remind you, and this will be important throughout the session, please stay online after the session. We'll have some people from Senegal sharing a video at the end of the session. We'll be giving you more details about that, but it is not to be missed, so please stay until the end of the session. It's an honor for Mexico to be hosting this global virtual forum. And to open the first plenary session, I'd like to invite Jason Nardi, moderator and representing RIPES Europe. He is a specialist in communication from Princeton Education. He also has a master's degree from the University of Florence. He's an active member of the International Social Global Forum. He's been organizer of Terra Futura, and he is part of the first Italian social network for social and solidarity economy. He has been head of the Italian Center oneworld.net.unimondo, and he's also a trainer in social and solidarity economy. He co-founded Solidarios, an advisory company for social and solidarity economy. So thank you, Jason Nardi, and we wish you a lot of success as moderator in this panel. We love having people from 102 countries here. Welcome, Jason and everybody else. Enjoy the panel. Thank you. Thank you very much, Humberto.
I will speak in English. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the inauguration to this first session of what seems to be a really, really interesting program for the next days. So you're all invited to participate. In this session, as you've seen from the title, we will look at the great challenges that we are facing today and how social solidarity economy can respond to these great challenges, but also opportunities. I'd like to, first of all, thank all the organizers from the GSF, but especially the Mexican Organizing Committee and the technical team that's behind it. I can see from the preparation that there's been a lot of work going on, and it's really a pity that it has not been possible to have the GSF in Mexico City today. But through this screen, we are able, in any case, to meet each other, and it's a real honor to be able to moderate this session. I'd like to just say very few words about social solidarity economy and social economy, or whatever alternative economy and name we want to give it. The first thing is that we're looking at a different paradigm, at something that will change the way we approach our exchanges and economic dimensions. So social economy and social solidarity economy should be seen not as a third sector of the economy, but really as a vector of change and of transition towards a different economy, a living economy for humanity and the planet. Humanity has gone through many crises, and more international and global today, and more interconnected. It's evident that beyond the global health situation that we have with the COVID pandemic in the last months, the whole planet is undergoing many concurrent crises, from the ecological and climate one, where the future of humanity itself is at risk today, to always bigger economic injustice, and perhaps most of all, to a crisis of democracy and our ways of being able to govern our communities and societies. So we have recognized, I think, beyond any doubt, that today market and financial economy is more a cause than a solution. And we cannot continue with this ideology of growth, of extractivism, of consumerism, of linear instead of circular supply chains, of energy production that is destructive for the planet and our well-being. And during this pandemic, very few multinational businesses have grown enormously economically, while many, as the or International Labor Organization estimates, many small businesses and households have lost their means to generate revenue. We talk about more than 155 full-time jobs lost only in the last months. So we need really to rapidly find an answer for a living economy, a well-being economy that takes into account the real limits and capacity of our planet Earth, that is based on solidarity, on justice, on inclusive participation, and on the power of communities, commoning our resources and knowledge. We need a common voice and a common answer. And I think that we will all agree that social solidarity economy is a strong part of this answer, both at the local level, but also at a translocal and international level. So we need to globalize solidarity. And we will look at all these issues and challenges through the next 2 rounds. We will have 2 moments with 2 rounds of speakers, and then a session for question and answers, and a concluding session where we will approach the guiding question that you have seen in the chat and that I repeat here, which is how to transform the present and build a better future from the perspective of the social solidarity economy. And now, without further ado, let me introduce to you our speakers for the first round. We have Madame Soham Al-Wardini, who is the mayor of Dakar in Senegal. We have Ms. Yu Yuwon, who is from the Salim Health Cooperative in Korea. We have Senor Jorge Bragulat from the University 3 de Febrero of Argentina, and Mr. Gianluca Salvatori, who is the director of the European Research Institute on Cooperative and Social Enterprises, EURICSE, from my country, Italy. Then we have Professor Marguerite Mendel from the University of Concordia in Canada. And finally, Mr. Juan Manuel Lubier Martinez, Director General of the National Institute of Social Economy of Mexico. And we will have very short interventions, but this will allow to hear many different voices from all around the world. So I think we can start right away for the first round with the following two questions. How does social solidarity economy contribute or has contributed to the well-being and inclusion from the perspective of the territories? So can you tell us about some experiences? And which actors have been key in the implementation and which aspects of the economic model had to be overcome in order to promote social solidarity economy? So I hope the two questions are clear, and I would right away pass the word to our first speaker, which is Mrs. Soham El Wardini, the mayor of Dakar.
Merci beaucoup. Je voudrais quand même vous saluer tous.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. And what I can tell you is that I'm very happy to be here with you. In the city of Dakar, the social and solidarity economy has contributed to the well-being of our population. As you know, in Senegal, the government has always been interested in SSE. Often, it was about a group of women who got together to try to find alternative sources of income to cover their basic needs. But it has gone beyond that. We've learned the importance of covering the basic needs of children, our young entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs. We have tried to support them in all sectors of the economy, in trade and every other sector. With this experience, I'd like to share some specifics. We have a project to support the more marginalized and poor communities. We have funded 173 projects. We have the FODEM, which is the Municipal Development Forum, with the goal of fighting against poverty in urban settings and poverty for women specifically, who can benefit from receiving economic aid. We have supported over 267 groups of women, reaching 463 women by helping them get employment. We have always said that there's always a silver lining, because in these challenging times, we've managed to develop our local economies even more. When the pandemic was announced, we thought, what are we going to do now? As you know, developing countries depend on imports quite a lot. And that's when people realized that the local economy needed to be developed. We needed to be more productive inside the country. We needed to produce our own vegetables, our own medication. And we were afraid. We didn't know what we would do. But the pandemic gave us the opportunity to reflect on everything that we've been doing so far. In 2020, for them, supported 13 groups of women, gathering 362 women, and we set up training programs for them. We helped these women to create financial structures for their models. They created agricultural and gardening projects. We offered training to 10,000 people, and we organized 167 community centers. We also worked with the youth in the car, hundreds of young people in social governance programs locally. The goal was to give them an access to employment. In the world of employment, we help them to take advantage of the support to have access to exercising their professions. We also support the private sector in smaller projects. We work with companies to promote employment, especially the microeconomy, collaborating with the IMS, the French-speaking Mayor Association. We went to a meeting in the French city of Marseille, and we managed to attract funding for our youth in Senegal. There are also mutuals and credits programs that the municipality has created. And now we have over 5,000 members in the city of Dakar. In short, what we have managed to do as we face the pandemic, as we reflect on the difficulties and challenges, we saw that as our young people became unemployed, we could help them find better jobs to cover their basic needs. As we said, in times of needs, more solidarity is necessary. So we will continue to do whatever is in our hands to help these populations have more well-being and inclusion in our cities. We want to guarantee their well-being.
Merci, Madame Soham. Guadini, very good timing and very good, interesting kind of practices that you have set out. Women entrepreneurship is certainly one of the objectives, I think, of a cooperative social solidarity economy that is really inclusive. So the example of Dakar is certainly something that needs to be followed. The next speaker is Yu Won. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. She is the founder and executive director of the Salim Healthcare Social Cooperative in Korea, and has won several prizes in the last years on social enterprising and on the social value and social cooperative. So please, Yu Won, the floor is yours.
Hola, buenos días. ¿Cómo están ustedes?
Hello,
Encantada.
good morning. How is everyone? It's a pleasure to be with you.
Soy de Corea del Sur y mi
I am
nombre
from
es
South Korea.
Yeowon Yu.
My name is Yeowon.
Me gustaría viajar en México.
I would love to travel to Mexico.
Now I'll start. Salim Medical Welfare Social Cooperative is a multi-stakeholder non-profit cooperative that consists of 3,200 local residents, 8 medical doctors, and many healthcare specialists. We desire to protect our health while we are healthy, receive full medical treatment and care when we are sick, live our lives with dignity even if we have disease or disability, live as myself until the last day of my life, and go away in the presence of familiar faces. Based on such desire, we operate medical treatment and healthcare institutions and engage in a community care business run by the local residents. When the whole world and the local communities went through difficult times due to COVID-19, Sanlim Medical Welfare Social Cooperative acted even stronger to achieve its missions. We supported the COVID-19 Triage Center and strengthened our house call by rescheduling the consultation hours of our doctors for the residents who are vulnerable with regard to health issues. The member volunteered to care for those who needed care. The members visited everyone who requested for the care to keep them in check and operated the local basis for health care. What we focused on was strengthening locality. It was hopeful that there is still something we can each do together to protect our neighbors and families, even in a global disaster. We redirected the goal of our business to leave no one alone while everyone was going through difficult times. As a result, more people understood why there has to be a medical welfare cooperative in the neighborhood and why we must have medical institutions and care centers directly owned and operated by the local residents. So we have gathered the investment from our members and purchased the building this month to integrate the community care and medical service in one place. I think this difficult period is also a period for everyone in the world and the neighbors in our local communities to understand why we need the social economy, while the market is full of goods and services. It is difficult to solve the issue surrounding the medical treatment and the healthcare service with money alone. So people place the medical treatment and the healthcare service on top of the relationship network, where they could keep them healthy and care for each other together. In this way, when exchanging things through the social economy, the social capital, trust, and relationship are exchanged together. In the capitalist market, the citizens were given mutually exclusive roles, such as the capitalist, the worker, the consumer, and so on. However, the things that became urgent for us after the outbreak of COVID-19 were those that could not be created by one person alone, such as personal care, safety, health, and relationship. These things can be sustained when those who need them directly participate together as the producers. So I think it is the time when we try to expand the thought in all areas of SSE, where we invite the customers, the consumers of goods and services, as the producers and those who share capital and surplus to give them a complex identity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yuan Yo.
Yeah.
I think that the example of a community business owned and run by the residents themselves is really amazing. And we all have to learn from such successful examples. I think they are much more resilient than many other traditional businesses, let's say. But more than that, they really change the perspective. As you said, we're no longer only customers, clients, or consumers. We are part of the same group. We are in a mutual exchange. And that is at the core, I think, of social solidarity economy. So thanks a lot again for the really good example that you're bringing forth, and I hope it will inspire many. Now, I will pass the word to our next speaker. It is Professor Jorge Bragulat. He's director of the Centro de Estudios de la Economía Social, the Center for Social Economy Studies of the University 3 of February of Argentina. And he's also author of several books, like on social cooperatives, or about civil associations and how they contribute to social solidarity economy. Please, Professor Jorge Brebula.
Bueno, muchas gracias. Muchas gracias por la
Very well.
invitación.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the invitation to be here. Congratulations to Mexico City for undertaking this event and coming up with such a wonderful organization. So congratulations to INAES as well, the National Institute for Social Economy in Mexico, where I have many friends. So congratulations to all of you. The World Bank has said that poverty has not increased in the last year. However, poverty has increased around the world, and I think everyone has been affected by it. Of course, the harshest impact always comes to the poorest countries, especially Latin America, where the greatest social inequality exists. Latin America is not the poorest continent, but it is the one with more social inequality, where more opportunities for social economy exist. Isolation has led to highlighting our personalities. So people who were self-centered has become more self-centered, and people who focused on solidarity have become more focused on solidarity and started promoting social economy. Social and solidarity economy is based on values, principles, and a theory behind it, and I think it can be quite convincing. But the counterpart is capitalism, which has a very powerful tool, which is not convincing, but that somehow always comes out ahead, that is dominant, that leaves us stuck in inequality.
This prevalence of capitalism has made the process even tougher than it should be. And what we can notice is that, on the other hand, a great opportunity is created for a social and solidarity economy, because this type of economy always grows during crisis. It never prevails during abundance, economic abundance. So it is very important to have this type of economy for the recovery of enterprises, of companies. In Argentina, many companies, both small and medium companies, have failed, but cooperatives have been created to recover from that crisis. So during the pandemic, there are many cooperatives that have been created, and they might not be many at a global level, but they are very significant, and we can recover income for households, for families, and you can also solve a social problem. Solving a social problem in this type of economic structure also solves problems of capitalist companies, because by solving social problems and creating income for the poorer people, that means that capitalist companies are going to keep selling their goods and services, and the status quo is not disrupted. But that is not the goal of social economy. Social economy wants to solve the economic problem that arise because of the situation, but it needs to disrupt. This is not the theory. We should not be making capitalism more functional. Our structure and visions should be unique. So this is not a variant of capitalism. It's not a third sector. It's perhaps a third path, but its main goal is to create a structural change. It is also not a variant nor an alternative to capitalism. It is an alternative project, because what changes here is the social foundation. We need to dignify people. We need to provide more value to work. So that is our starting point. If social distribution and care for the environment and fair trade and food sovereignty and among many other issues are the starting point for all this, the finish line will be a totally different social and economic structure to what we have right now. So how do we start doing this? Fundamentally, it is necessary for big cooperative companies that exist right now, and we just heard from one of them, needs to think back to their roots, and they need to be showing solidarity to everyone who is starting this process. So every big cooperative company in the market right now is a co-op that is not accepted by capitalism. It is only being tolerated by capitalism. It is not functional. It is functional to it at this point. So they need to go back to their roots, back to the beginning of their foundation, of their creation. So solidarity, grassroots work, and grassroots work with cooperative companies. The big ones need to help the ones that are just being created right now. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Professor.
How not to be integrated and functional to the market and capitalist economy, but actually to be a factor of mutual cooperation and multiplication of social solidarity economy is also a key issue if we really want to transform the system today, as I think is the thought of many of us. So since time is always very tight, I will go directly to our next speaker, Mr. Gianluca Salvatori. He is the General Secretary of Eurixe in Italy, and is also a member of the expert group of the European Commission on Social Economy. Floor is yours, Mr. Salvatori.
One of the countries that, after China, was first and most violently hit by COVID-19, with a high price in terms of human lives. To fight the pandemic, we had one of the longest and most stringent lockdowns, and the country has come to a complete standstill for more than 2 months. Almost all the activities were stopped, and Italians stayed at home respecting the rules issued by the public authorities. As a consequence of the lockdown, we have suffered the impact of a severe economic crisis, which has produced deep effects in terms of well-being. Nearly 600,000 jobs have been lost since the lockdown began, despite subsidies that the government has given to businesses to compensate for losses. What lessons can we draw from this dramatic experience that have value for the social and solidarity economy? This is the theme of this panel, and I would like to respond with three main observations. The first one is that the pandemic has undermined the aspiration of the profit enterprise to replace the state in taking care of people's well-being. In the last 10 years, and especially since the 2008 crisis, the world of for-profit companies has developed a powerful narrative with which it has distanced itself from its past. Instead of insisting on the primacy of the shareholder and the maximization of profit as the ultimate goal of the company, the issue of social responsibility has taken hold. Businesses, it was argued, can tackle issues of environmental and social sustainability more effectively than public institutions. Their ability to obtain results could find a solution to the greatest challenges of our time. From welfare to education, from gender inclusion to innovation in social services, the commitment of socially responsible companies can make a difference on every topic. This was the message with which the leaders gathered in Davos, the CEOs of the Business Roundtable, the leaders of large corporations, committed to redefining the purpose of their companies. Then came the pandemic, and the world suddenly appeared in a different light. The role of for-profit enterprises in taking care of social well-being has no longer been at the center of the discussion. The state has taken back space and power in Italy and in many European countries and also in other continents. And this is precisely the second observation on which I would like to focus your attention. The pandemic has had the effect of bringing public action back to the center, reminding us that we have entrusted to the public powers the authority to stop a business, close schools, freeze social life, confine ourselves indoors in our own interest. It showed that the need for public subsidies to counter the effect of the economic crisis was essential. It put back into perspective the presumption that private companies could act in the name of the public interest. However, and this is the last and third observation, the experience of the pandemic has showed that if it is true that market forces have shown their limits and the role of the state has appeared fundamental, we have seen how decisive a third component has also been. I'm referring to the role of communities and civil society. The orders and measures of the public authority were effective not so much for fear of sanctions, but for the civic sense of the people, for the common good. What I mean is that in the midst of the emergency, people have rediscovered civic virtues, and beyond formal compliance with the law, they have behaved in a socially responsible way by multiplying voluntary activities, engaging in acts of solidarity, supporting social economy initiatives. The time of pandemic has been an exceptional training ground for grasping the importance of an approach that is not solely oriented toward profit and not even based exclusively on the exercise of authority by the state. In more theoretical terms, and I'm a researcher, so I'm speaking from a researcher point of view, this period has made it clear that the space between the state and the market is not purely marginal, but plays an essential function. Many of the services that are essential to people's well-being, from care to education, can be produced in this space where social and solidarity economy organizations operate. And this is a kind of attitude and results that we have observed during this terrible period in my country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gianluca Salvatori. I have lived the same experience as you, coming from the same country, so I totally recognize what you have said. I think that as we recognize limits of the market and capitalist economy, we also recognize limits of our public economies and public interventions. And probably the way forward is a major integration between the public interest and the community in the way that we heard before by Yuan Yo with the possibility of co-ownership, let's say, both of the public and of the community in the management of services for health and for many other things. But that's a long way to go, probably, and we need to have a strong voice for this. I would like now to pass the word to our next speaker, Professor Marguerite Mandel from Concordia University. And she is also part of many different organizations, but I would like to mention the Chantier de l'économie sociale in Quebec, which is an example of a big enterprise, I would say, that is able to influence public policies in a strong way. Professor Mundell.
Thank you. Thank you, Jason. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I am delighted, I am honored to participate in this opening panel. GCEF is close to my heart. And before I begin, I just want to pay a tribute to Mayor Wonsoon Park, our friend, our co-founder of GCEF, and an inspiration for the social economy around the world. It is a huge loss, and we continue to grieve, but we continue to work in his spirit, moving forward and being inspired by his example. I'd like to begin by saying that more than crisis management, the social and solidarity economy is committed to eliminating structural conditions that systematically undermine the capacity of people to meet their needs. So in other words, building organizations and systems that challenge the dominant economic model that generates inequality, exclusion, environmental, and social injustice. Especially today with COVID, we tend to be focusing on crisis management, but we have to look back at what is really at the heart of the social and solidarity economy. Many of you are aware of the Quebec experience. We have shared this around the world. It is well documented. But I want to underscore that we also learn a great deal from other parts of the world. So this is an ongoing process of co-learning and adaptation. And that is the story of Quebec, and it has to be the story of the social economy around the world. In all cases, whether we are in Quebec or elsewhere, the social and solidarity economy is rooted in territory, in communities. It is committed to the public good and the good life of communities across Quebec and in other regions of the world. It has contributed and continues to contribute to poverty reduction, social and economic inclusion, economic democracy, creating access to finance and capital investment tools, training, labor market integration, business support for collective enterprises, inspiring young people to participate in building an alternative economy, empowering marginalized communities, and building communities of mutual support. And we know this certainly today in the COVID crisis. But I think what is really important in Quebec and needs to be shared and promoted in other parts of the world is that we have to occupy greater political space. We have to be more present in political dialogue, in political discourse on strategies, today in particular, post-COVID strategies, but more broadly, strategies for a just and ecological transition that leaves no one behind. The strength of the social and solidarity economy in Quebec is that it is a movement. It is not simply an aggregate or aggregation of many collective enterprises and organizations. It is a movement made up of those enterprises and organizations, of course, but it is also made up of intermediary organizations, other social movements, including the labor movement, and it's linked nationally by the network that Jason mentioned, and that is the Chantier de l'Économie Sociale, which is a network of networks. And by having this one voice that represents all these diverse and different organizations and networks, it allows a common drafting, if you will, of strategies that benefit the entire social economy network across Quebec. Excuse me. It is also really important to move beyond crisis management to keep the agenda that we have developed over time going, and that is to react to trends that are very present today, in which the social and solidarity economy has to take play an important role. I'm thinking here of the digital economy, the increase in the number of gig workers, precarious work, the necessity to form more platform cooperatives, the necessity to look at how land and nature is being extracted and privatized, and develop more community trusts and social utility trusts, which we have done in Quebec. And we need to work very closely with government. We have to be able to transform the way in which we act from lobbying and opposing, which we must always do, but to I go back to what Gianluca mentioned, and that is occupying those interstitial spaces between the market and civil society, but widening those spaces, making them more, having a greater presence inside those spaces. And we have learned that in Quebec, working alongside government, regardless of what government is in power, is critical, so that governments are able to see the benefit of collaborating with social and solidarity actors. I've got very little time left, so I would like to just also underscore that it is extremely important to work collaboratively as well with research communities and to create opportunities for knowledge mobilization and knowledge transfer. Something else I think that we have done quite effectively in Quebec, and I don't want to say that we have done it all. We are on this path, but I think that the path was charted well before the crisis, and therefore we can continue. Although the crisis has shown us that the path is not linear. I just want to end on one reference to the World Bank, which we heard from our colleague from Argentina. Just this month, the World Bank published a report in which it said that COVID-19 has increased world poverty from 88 million to 115 million people in extreme poverty, and that this will grow to 150 million in 2021. And it is the World Bank, and here I am quoting, "We need to prepare for a different economy post-COVID." So we need to prepare for a different economy means that we need new economic theories, we need a new economic paradigm, and I think that the social and solidarity economy is writing the script. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Margie Mandel. Yes, and this script is something we have to co-write all together, and with more and more exchanges like this that we really need and can co-build, not just to react, as you were saying, not just for crisis management, but really to build the new strategies and to influence strongly and occupy the spaces, as you aptly said. Our last speaker for this round is Juan Manuel Luvier Martinez. He's the Director General of UNICE. You've heard him at the beginning. And he's also coordinator of the Maestría en Gestión de Empresas de Economía Social in the University of Puebla. So I guess I can call him professor as well. Juan Manuel Luvier Martinez. The floor is yours.
Muchas gracias, Jason, y todos los que me precedieron.
Thank you very much, Jason, and all of those before me. If the question is, what are the challenges and the great opportunities that we see for ESS in the current context, I think it would be very useful to resort to an image that a Jesuit professor that I had in college showed me. It said that the reality that we live in is like a road which has a badly built curve where people constantly have accidents. So buses, cars, bicycles, donkeys, they all have accidents. And right now, we have had 4 buses full of people have an accident in this badly built curve on the road. So what do we do? Do we build it back and do we bring all the engineers back to build the road again? Or do we call the ambulance right now to save people at this very moment? And I like that example because I think it shows that ESS has the possibility to do both at the same time. It means that we are facing the big challenge of tending to the urgent victims of the crisis, but not only COVID victims, but also structural victims in regions, as Jorge mentioned, like Latin America. It's not the poorest region in the world, but it's the most unequal region in the world because we are extremely rich, but the corporate structure and the economic structure is greatly unequal. So those are the victims right now as well. So this is what needs to be done at the municipal level, but also at greater levels. And now we have the opportunity through smaller companies to save the lives of those victims. Some of them need different types of care than others. Other people are more exposed to poverty right now. But at the same time, there's something that we are very enthusiastic about because social economy also has the ability to re-engineer this road so as to avoid further accidents. So the greatest advantage of ESS is that it looks very much like natural systems in the planet. So natural systems, whenever there is a hyper concentration of the same thing in the same territory, what is eventually going to happen is that systems are going to be much less efficient when harnessing resources like water, soil. You're going to lose nutrients from the soil, and there will be harmful consequences for the environment. That is what capitalism is doing right now. Big monopolies are doing that. They are creating these types of environments where all of the resources are kept by them. But ESS has the opportunity to occupy both spaces. The SSE has the opportunity to create those spaces and also to create relationships, which is a great challenge to have sort of intermediary roles with the state. And that is what happens in natural systems as well. You can create a bigger biodiversity, have different stakeholders with different interests, and also have social consequences. And this is something that has been evident in the pandemic. Monopolized spaces like online transactions, for instance, are an example of this. How can it be that an electronic platform will earn more than $13 billion? This means that the structure is badly created. I think that the big challenge is knowing what are those spaces where we can participate and also knowing what are the big structural flaws that need to be fixed. But I think that all the lessons learned from SSE and cooperative organizations throughout the years are very productive and are very useful to us right now because first and foremost we need to trust the system. We need to trust that the system that we are creating is more efficient than capitalism, but we also need to make visible everything that capitalism has hidden right now. We need to occupy those spaces, and our main challenge is to make them visible and to create a social and solidarity economy. And later on, we can talk about what Mexico is doing in that regard.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
We'll have to do very short second round because the time has flown, and therefore I would go directly asking each one of you if you could limit to 1-2 minutes. I know that's very short, but that will allow maybe to have a few questions at the end. So I would start again with the mayor of Dakar. The question here is how then do we go and solve these challenges, and how do we extend our solutions beyond our territory or sector so that it really becomes a systemic change?
Merci. Alors, au niveau de la
Thank
ville de
you.
Dakar, nous avons développé une
In the city of Dakar,
de développement local
we have created a community-based strategy
collectivité territoriale.
in order to promote
Les
SSE.
services de la ville sont régulièrement en tournée au niveau des
And just as services in the city want to reach the communities, we have created a strategy that is based on 3 different pillars, thereby developing a synergy between all stakeholders, including the private sector. The first pillar is proximity, bringing closer to the target populations governance and administrative tools, as well as entrepreneurship tools. The second pillar is access to credits, low and sustainable interest rates to establish trust between creditors and creditees so that they can have better investment to promote their businesses. And the third is financial inclusion for all activities, economic activities carried out in Senegal, where a majority of women and young people work. Several measures have been adopted to do capacity building, to teach them and accompany them in mediation, for instance, in case of disputes. All of these mechanisms can allow us to make better decisions for companies to thrive at a community level. The concerns of associations, trade unions, and groups need to be taken into account when implementing development projects. So the city of Dakar continues to foster dialogue. Since 2017, we have implemented a coaching program for stakeholders of social and solidarity economy in the city of Dakar, especially to consider the needs of the local population. What we did now to face the COVID crisis, and that represented a great challenge, but also a great opportunity, is to analyze how SSE can contribute to a better world in every single sector. So we developed a support program to organize local markets and promote trade activities. We also did a lot of investment to promote local economic activities and support social craftsmen, social integration programs. For example, when prices are set that are very high, that affects the community. So the FODEM has worked to support young entrepreneurs who have approached us, and we also asked them to do all the production locally. In Senegal, everyone has to wear a face mask, for instance. You cannot go to any public place without a face mask. So we held a meeting in the city with these young people, and we started giving away face masks to try to prevent the spread of COVID. We have also participated in direct financing projects, taking advantage of the resources that FODEM offers, and we implemented information guides to protect against COVID. We organized groups of volunteers in the city of Dakar also to spread information on the pandemic. So that has been part of what we have done locally to promote social solidarity projects in the face of COVID. During the pandemic, which has been slowing down, at least here, fortunately, the number of infections has not been very high lately, and I believe we might be the first country to eradicate the pandemic in the continent, at least.
Thank you, Mayor. Let's hope so. Let's hope that it will follow then through to all countries around the world. We don't need a long pandemic, certainly. We need a quick change. That's another thing, though. Okay, so time is short, and therefore I insist, please, for speakers to be quite sharp. The next one is Yuan Yo from Korea.
Yeah, they say that the cooperatives do not make big money when the economy is booming, but do not go out of business so easily when the economy is slumping. It is because the cooperatives are not created to make money, but to satisfy needs. Under the current crisis, the violence against the minority became worse, but the general public's sensitivity on human rights evolved also, as they experienced a situation where anyone can become the minority. Now, this sensitivity on human rights, the pursuit of value which leaves no one behind, can become our competitiveness. I think the roles of the social economy at this point in time are to cause the social value created while making agreements with the socially weak and various stakeholders to continue into the financial value, to replicate and expand ourselves, and thus to fundamentally change the economic structure of the entire world. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, we speak a lot of the economic part, but in our financialized world, we need to have a solidarity finance. And we need to rethink the mechanisms of finance so that they are compatible with a new form of economy based on solidarity and on our needs. Thank you again. Our next speaker for the second round is Professor Jorge Bragulat. The floor is yours.
Bueno, yo creo que la economía social.
I believe that social and solidarity economy is in its core a cultural project that makes use of an economic mechanism to try to change social organization and community-based organization. If it's a cultural project, that means that we need to change the values of people. We need people to assume the value of good living, which has been promoted in Latin American traditional nations, where the individual seeks to be in harmony with himself, with the community, and with Mother Nature. When people can take that on as a goal, community organization becomes easier. Also, in an economic way, because people will promote this value in a deeper way. So it will be more natural for them to organize in these kinds of economic projects. So to begin with, if we want to promote these new values in people, we need to find a way for people to stop looking for being competitive and rather becoming competent, being good at doing something. Because being competent means that whatever you want to produce, whatever you want to share with society should be good, should be of value, should be the best possible thing that you can create for the people and for the environment. And that can only be possible in a different economic structure if it has an underlying cultural change. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias. Not competitive, but competent. That's definitely something to really reflect upon. Because even cooperation needs to be competent, and we have to be capable of cooperating, which is not something that is so easy to do. Next, there is Gianluca Salvatori, and again, sorry, but very short response. Thank you.
I will be short. From my observatory, one of the effects of the pandemic will be the acceleration of the transition from a vision of welfare centered on the state to a vision centered on the whole society, the so-called welfare society, in which the production of care and assistance services will be distributed among a plurality of different actors, among which a crucial role will be played by the organizations of the social and solidarity economy. This forecast is based on the fact that we are experiencing a constant transformation of care services in the sense of their greater personalization. This trend requires a reading of the needs attentive to the context of specific communities. To give you an example from my Italian experience, the COVID-19 emergency has highlighted that an efficient hospital system based on a system of large centralized institutions is not enough to fight an epidemic. An efficient local medicine is needed. Today, we understand that prevention and monitoring are indispensable to tackle the pandemic, but this means a community health model more than a centralized and verticalized health model. The role of local health care is therefore extremely important, integrated with a network of home services. In Italy, the vast majority of these services are provided by social economic organizations, which are therefore called upon to perform an essential function. To get out of this crisis, an approach to designing services is needed that actively involves users, starting from a meticulous knowledge of the communities to which they are addressed. The ability to include a variety of actors in the design, enhancing their skills and resources, would be crucial. That's my opinion, and this is my forecast for the next future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Salvatori. I really appreciate that you centered on care. I think that is another key word, key concept, key value that we have in rethinking a society based not on profit, but on care, based on the fact that we are mutually responsible one of another, and we should find the ways to meet our needs together. The next speaker is Professor Mendel. Again, floor to you.
Yeah, I'll try go very quickly, but by being the fourth means that you hear three people in front of you and more ideas. To pick up on the idea of care, the whole notion of, quote, essential workers, which has been upfront in the whole pandemic crisis. In Quebec, we have a strong home care sector in the social and solidarity economy that's been underfunded, that has struggled for years. And now it is evident, particularly with the devastation in seniors' residences, which have become giant morgues, that home care is essential. So I think that this tragedy of this crisis will certainly be an opportunity to build the home care sector and to get the kind of support that it hasn't had until now. Similarly with food, if we talk about food security or food autonomy, I think the days of agribusiness hopefully will be in the past, as environmental concerns, but also shortening the supply chain and promoting circularity in the economy has given rise to exponential growth in local food production in Quebec. And I think that this is definitely true in other parts of the world. And food production and in food distribution, the emergence of collective organizations and enterprises urban as well as rural and semi-rural. And I'll just end, because I know I have to be very brief. I want to push again on the policy front and on the real necessity for collaborative policy formation. And I think here, we are very innovative, and we know how to work collaboratively, and we know how to co-construct policy, and we have allies within different governments. But we have to press governments and support them to become much more flexible themselves, because very often the difficulty in having public policy that enables a social economy is because of structural rigidities that exist within public institutions. So we talk about a cultural change. There has to be a cultural change within the massive public administration architecture, which would take me back to what was raised by our colleague in Argentina and Gianluca on rethinking the state, making it more supple and making it more amenable to working collaboratively with social and solidarity economy actors. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Yes, we do need a new culture, but I think we also need a strong new imaginary for people. We're being bombarded more and more with dystopian visions. I think we need to have also some hopeful re-utopian visions today that redesign a bit the path ahead and don't just give one direction that is a bit a dooming direction today. Our last, I think, if I'm correct, speaker of this round is again Juan Manuel Luvier Martinez. And I don't know if we will have time for some questions. I really hope maybe just one or two, but I'll ask our organizers if we do. So the floor is yours.
Muchas gracias de nuevo. Retomando un poco la
Thank you very much once again. And going back to what I was saying to answer in the first round, I want to talk about specific actions we have taken in Mexico and challenges that we're facing. If I consider the federal government, and more specifically the institution in charge of protecting social and solidarity economy to guarantee that it becomes a pillar for development in Mexico, you can imagine that this is a big challenge in Mexico. We're a country of almost 130 million people in a territory the size of Europe. So we face many challenges. On the one hand, we have to protect natural areas. We have very large urban areas such as Mexico City, which has about 20 million people in the surrounding area. So with those complexities in mind, what I think can help us is something that has already been mentioned by Gianluca, by Margie, by Jorge, about the cultural change of social and solidarity economy. And that is why the program that we are promoting right now at INAES has to do with making this cultural change visible. That's important. We need to raise awareness. Over 40% of people have never heard of social and solidarity economy and cooperativism. So people will understand better when we have resources to make them understand, when they can understand the tools. I think capitalism and the threat that it poses is real. It is understood by many, but at the same time, it creates problems to understand as ease. So that's the first step, to raise awareness. And once we do that, we need to find the right tools to implement it locally. If we can implement social and solidarity economy models, then we need to generate positive value. And then we will have to administer money very carefully to guarantee that it is spread in a fair and equal way. money needs to serve people and not the other way around. And that's a fact that needs to go beyond rhetoric. We need to have social banking models that will allow social economy and solidarity principles to be based on very solid but very practical structures so that we can start appearing in economic sectors that have been closed to us, that are taken by capitalism. So, again, I think the first step is visibilizing SSE. We need to find a way to make them visible in every single sector: food production, transportation, better energy production, etc., etc. So that in this new ecosystem that we want to build, which we see as our biggest challenge, is to connect all of these activities of production, consumption, savings, and loans locally in the territories, in partnerships with social organizations, with government organizations. And of course, we have a long tradition of governments that have supported neoliberalism and neoliberal approaches. And it's hard to break away with that because resources have concentrated in few hands and there has been a lot of corruption. But better development can happen if we educate people, if we look for new financing schemes, if we implement strategies to take back those imaginary territories in the economic sphere that have not been ours. And once they are back in the hands of people, then we can make it work to our service. So money at the service of people and not the other way around. That, I think, can sum up the goal of the Institute. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much for this effort of synthesis. I'm sure that putting together such a complex and coherent system would necessitate hours to explain. But I think the main issues are quite clear. And you did mention the issue of education, which is certainly one, together with making more visible, one of the challenges that we have ahead on how to educate more and more people in the mainstream in the values and the practices of social solidarity economy. So I don't know if we have now a few minutes for questions. Humberto, maybe someone can tell me.
De preferencia, vámonos a la tercera ronda, por favor.
Okay, so Berenice, thank you. We're then going directly to the last part where we are going to look at the guiding question that you've all seen in the chat and that I'll repeat here, which is how to transform the present and build a better future from the perspective of social solidarity economy. It's quite a broad question, but let's see if we have some answers and some interventions that could speak here. And I think this is open to everyone who is participating and has answered to the question. So I guess if you want to speak, you can either write it down quickly in the chat or raise your hand. So while you're thinking about it, maybe, yes, I see one hand up amongst our panelists. So Margie Mandel, you want to intervene?
I'll just make one comment, and it's not just because I'm an academic, but I think we have a real job to do in our teaching and bringing a different perspective to economics. It's happening. There are really good theorists. I'm thinking of people like Kate Raworth and her donut economics, Mariana Mazzucato, and on public and private intervention and so on. But that we have to do a better job at getting inside the academic curriculum in economics in particular, which still is dominated by neoclassical theory. We have more of a presence in sociology and economic sociology and in the business schools, ironically, but economic theory remains the dominant paradigm that is taught to young people. So I think this is really a critical, crucial task that has to be taken on. Oh, and I'll just add one thing. We can call it from a transactional economy to a relational economy.
Well, we definitely are not missing adjectives to define another economy. I think I've listed something like 50 in the last year as we were also organizing a transformative economies World Social Forum, bringing together many different movements that are not just imagining, but practicing another economy. I see there are a few questions. So maybe Felix Cadena, if you'd like to speak. And then we will have to go to concluding remarks. I don't know if Felix is there. Otherwise, we'll have to skip that. I see the time is very minute.
Solo me interesaría para cerrar esto.
Okay, so in conclusion, I think we've said many important things. Social and solidarity economy is a mechanism that can lead to well-being, but we can only reach that through social transformation. The first step is to understand that capitalism, and more specifically neoliberalism, are our culture right now. They're not only a development model, it's not only a process, it's become part of our culture in the last few decades. And this culture has made people see the world in a very specific way, where everything is monetized, everything is mercantilistic. So the big challenge of social economy right now is to break down all of that culture to create a much more sustainable culture for the future. So I believe our mechanisms need to be, first of all, education to try to teach about this new culture, teaching proper management of the resources we have to sustain life and resources and wealth in the service of people and the environment, and finally, having better integrated systems. I think one of the biggest challenges is that we are very happy when we work with our models when we have very small scale successes. And that's great, of course, but at the same time, we need to find a way to grow, to go global, to create a domino effect where we start growing instead of the systems that have been so harmful to the environment and to our society. So to do that, we need to understand the complexities in which we live in right now, and we have to continue fighting to take social economy everywhere.
I'm really sorry for the time. We really don't have time for questions, so we'll continue with the panelists, but you will have time, participants, to take part in the many other sessions that are happening in these days. And I renew the invitation to participate in those that interest you. So next, and just one word quickly on what was just said. I think because we are still very much in the paradigm of growth, we have to also imagine ways in which we can scale up in a different way, where we scale more across and multiply, but connect rather than grow central parts. So this way of cooperating in a decentralized but connected way is probably one key of the strategy for the future. Margie Mendel.
Okay, quickly, just to summarize, drawing on the Quebec experience and its successes, there's no replacement for ongoing citizen mobilization, that people take ownership of this strategy for a new economy, developing a new economy. So alliances across social movements are very important. All social movements, the environmental movement, the movement for a just transition, particularly with the labor movement that is also facing its own transitional issues as we move into a fourth industrial revolution. We have to collaborate, and again, I underscore this, collaborate with governments at local, regional, and national levels, engage in co-construction of public policy, and generate the spaces, stakeholder spaces within government that have to become institutionalized. And there's a paradox. We need to innovate in the sense of innovating how public policy is designed, but we have to institutionalize that process of innovation. So it's a bit of an oxymoron, but I think there is no substitution. And because if nothing else, then this will give greater visibility and greater recognition of the social economy as a key actor in the creation of wealth, a different definition of wealth creation, but nonetheless as a key actor alongside the public and private sectors. The resilience of the social and solidarity economy is known, but it's always been a counter-cyclical resilience. This is now a structural change. Can we draw on that resilience to design a new economic paradigm? And I'll stop here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Gianluca Salvatori.
My point is very simple. The main challenge we have to face is how to combine two different perspectives. From one side, we do have the small-scale perspective. We are rooted in our communities. We are able to speak about experiences. We can tell stories, and everything in this direction, of course, is absolutely fundamental. We need these kind of roots, but we cannot just tell people about single experiences. We need to have a larger framework. So how to combine the small scale with the large scale? So the ability to pick up different elements from our own experiences, the local experience, from our communities, and draw a design, a whole design. When I was mentioning before the need for a transition from the welfare state to a welfare society, what I see is the necessity to bring together different elements, components of this new design that must be harmonized into a coherent system of thinking and of acting. Well, what I see from time to time is that we have a very strong narrative in terms of small scale. We still need a good narrative in terms of broader scale. And that's the challenge from the cultural point of view for the next period.
Definitely, we need a narrative for that is comprehensible for the majority of people, and that is at a broad scale. But again, without centralizing or concentrating, monopolizing, as the economy today is doing in many sectors. Our next, before last, is Jorge Regulat. Professor, floor is yours.
Bueno, partiendo de lo que decía Juan Manuel, desmontar esta cultura.
Based on what Juan Manuel was saying, this is capitalistic culture, and I agree with that completely. It is very important to have a presence in the territories and work at the grassroots level with different sectors, as our professor from Canada was saying. And we need to work from the bottom up to create autonomous, independent structures that do not need to rely on the state. But we also need to work from the top to the bottom to work on public policies. Because of the pandemic, of course, neoliberalism was a very small state that does not take care of the larger population, and welfare is not a priority. So, in practical terms, going from the bottom up and being concerned about working from the bottom up is important, but also from the top to the bottom to fix the public policies. And in that way, we can have a better integration. And we cannot forget the theory, but academics could just talk in their own classrooms for hours on end. So theory is important, but it's not the main component. However, in practice, we have this unleashed capitalism. So if we are too pragmatic, we don't know what our path is without theoretical clarity. So theory and theory and practice need to go hand in hand always, because the objective is to democratize the economy, and we want it to be compatible with the political democracy that we wish to have. So if we lose theory, then we lose democracy and equality. We need to democratize economy.
Democratizing economy, that's exactly one of the slogans that we have in our European network. When we explain what solidarity economy is, it's about liberating the economy and putting democracy at the center, real democracy. Thanks, Professor. What about in Korea? Yuan Yu, please, the word is yours.
Yeah, I have some keywords the audience today to remember from my word. First one is sustainability. Health, personal care, safety, and relationship. The most important values are sustainable when the multitude of citizens participate for themselves, not when provided by a small group of experts. And second one is we need a clear perspective about health. We have to build a community of equality, peace, and cooperation when we have a disaster, especially. And the last, opportunity. In the times of crisis, the citizens will need the social economy even more. And that is our opportunity, I think. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, we have to pick the opportunity. when it comes. And this is a moment that is very hard and difficult, but it also is rich of opportunities. We have now Mayor of Dakar, Madame El Wardini. If you want to intervene, it's your turn.
Oui. Merci beaucoup. Merci donc pour conclure. Comme tous mes autres collègues, donc à
Thank you
Dakar.
very much. Well, as our other colleagues mentioned, we work with the social and solidarity economy.
Déjà chez nous au Sénégal, il y a une loi d'orientation sur l'économie.
So we work in Senegal with this type of economy, and we have a law for this new type of economy that is being developed right now. So I think that together with the states, we can build this new model together, because and for small and medium companies, women and young people are already present in this sector, and they are yielding great results. What we did here in our city was just try to guide these young people who are leading the way, and I think in time it will be easier for us at the local level and at the national level to gather more strength and to have more social enterprises. I think it's just a matter of time.
I think we're at the end of this inaugural session, and we've had many examples from all over the world, and also I think a lot of ideas to think on when we're looking at not just a different practice of the economy, but really how do we build together a new system involving not just academics, not just theoreticians or economists, but us, everyone, people in everyday's life, and get out of this bad dream that we are living today. There's many words that have been keywords that have been said. I think it will be a bit the work of the organizers of the GSF now to put them together and with all the other sessions. But I hope you all got something to bring with you and to reflect upon. Certainly one thing is that from Korea to Quebec to Italy to Dakar to Buenos Aires and Mexico City and many other cities from all over the world from which you are connecting, we are living today something very similar, and this brings us much closer together. So let's really take this opportunity to raise our voices and occupy the spaces that have been occupied by someone for their own interest. And now let's see if we can revert this trend and reopen these spaces. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, Jason. Muchas gracias por haber atendido la plenaria número 1.
Thank you very much, Jason. Jason, thank you for moderating this first plenary session. As we said, after this plenary, where we have people from all regions in the world, and we see that we have undergone similar situations, and now we can see that community solidarity is leading the way towards a great change. Now we have a different economy, and social solidarity economy is heading in that direction. The local organizing committee for GSEF, we were talking the other day about how we wanted this to be a space where everyone around the world could tell us how SSC is working right now, and what it looks like in different regions. That's why we have sessions in French, English, and Spanish, so that everyone can share their own experiences. So when we gathered our speakers from many parts of the world, and we decided that they were going to talk about the benefits of SSE, we selected a few of them in order to be speakers, and that's why we invited Malik Deep from Senegal, who is going to talk to us about his experience. Welcome, Malik. You can introduce your video now, please. Good morning, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here. I am part of a network that promotes social and solidarity economies and social solidarity policies. And so we represent communities, represent communities and societies around Dakar. And so it is a great honor to chair this meeting, and we are very delighted to participate to promote social economy, and both at the local level and the regional level. So Africa has participated. Well, we are in Senegal, but due to the economic circumstances, this is a productive place for social solidarity economy, so that we can reinvent the development model that we have. So we need a fairer society and a society where solidarity is greater than it is right now. So all together, collectively, we need to take charge of the sustainable development of our territories, because we all live in the same planet. And that is the work that we are doing, and we need to share that work with all of the stakeholders involved. Thank you very much. Thank you, Malik. Now let's play the video.
Il nous a paru nécessaire de procéder par la mutualisation des expériences, des expertises et des ressources de nos collectivités. C'est le sens de la mise en place du réseau des acteurs des collectivités territoriales pour l'économie sociale et solidaire du Sénégal, RACTES.
Nous faisons de l'économie sociale et solidaire dans la réalité. En tant que collectivité territoriale, mais en tant qu'acteur non étatique aussi. Nous le faisons depuis fort longtemps et les résultats ont un impact réel et ont contribué au fil des ans à améliorer les conditions de vie de nos populations et notamment des femmes.
La conviction est aujourd'hui établie que le développement économique et social de nos pays ne peut être impulsé qu'à la base, au niveau des collectivités territoriales. Les collectivités territoriales sont en effet devenues des partenaires incontournables pour asseoir un développement inclusif et durable.
Le RACTES constitue et regroupe tous ces acteurs autour d'un projet de promotion de l'économie sociale et solidaire dans les politiques nationales et locales. Le RACTES a travaillé sur la lettre politique sectorielle et a travaillé actuellement sur la loi cadre de l'ES. Il accompagne ces dynamiques autour d'adresser tous ces acteurs, l'État, les collectivités locales, les associations des élus, mais aussi les acteurs économiques de l'économie sociale et solidaire. C'est ça qui fait que le RACTES est un cadre inclusif pour un développement de l'économie sociale et solidaire au Sénégal.